Good evening. I'm down in the bar enjoying my Friday night vodka cranberry. So I guess this won't be a coffee and cleaners. We could call it a cleaners and cocktails. And tonight we're going to go on a trip through the Hoover factories. This little book is copyright 1923. And I don't know who else has a copy of this, but it's the only one I've ever seen. This shows their big main plant in North Canton, Ohio. Plant number 2 in Hamilton, Ontario, making machines for Canadian sale. And plant number 3 in Canton, Ohio, which produced in conjunction with the main plant. So 1923, 1908 was when they first started making vacuum cleaners under the Hoover name. I mean, this is 15 years after that. That's remarkable. Remarkable, the size of the enterprise they built up in that short period of time. Well, I glossed right over the last page, flipped right over, but it's interesting. What do they say? 5 minutes in a man's home will tell you more of his true character than a week of business contact. Only a few of the thousands of Hoover friends can ever come to the factory. Therefore, the factory must be taken to them by means of the printed word and pictures. If the mountain won't come to Mohammed, then Mohammed must go to the mountain. Showing the aluminum ingots to make the main castings. 180,000 pounds of ingots in this pile. Hoover would go through 21,000 pounds a day. So that's what, a couple weeks supply there? They'd run through all that aluminum. Sand casting. They were not yet using die casting. Sand casting means that for every mold you make, or for every casting you make, the mold has to be redone by hand. You make 1,000 Hoovers, that mold was made 1,000 times. Cores for where the fan operates. You can see that. The furnaces to heat up the aluminum and then pour it. This is really a true factory making a finished product from raw materials. Today there's fewer and fewer true factories. A lot of times when you see something is made in USA, really it's assembled in USA. They'll buy the housing, they'll buy the motor, they'll buy the cord, they'll buy the switch. Globally sourced components, they'll put it all together. I mean, that's oftentimes what it takes to be viable, but there's kind of a sadness in looking back on when our economy was based so strongly on making something from almost nothing, taking raw materials and designing and building a product and selling it from scratch. And it's one of the cool things about looking back on this is contemplating that. Finishing the castings. All the small parts of the cleaner and its accessories are cast in gangs and then cut apart. Handle yokes, which are cast in gangs of 2. Cutting apart a gang casting from, looks like elbows, maybe for attachments. Grinding the finish on the casting. Automatic screw machines. reclaim the oil instead of just getting rid of it and getting new oil, resulted in the saving of 2,000 gallons of cutting oil per month. That's nuts. All that volume. Balancing the fans. There's a Hoover fan. The heavy part of the pan naturally rotates to the bottom where a tool is located which drills out a small amount of metal. The brush guard. Special machine drills simultaneously 10 holes in the brush guard bar. Look at that. Special machines for drilling all holes in the sides of the main castings. 2 of these holes supply air to the thread guard. So if you look at a Hoover from the 20s, on the sides of the vacuum, in the brush roll housing area, each side has a hole, and this indicates that that hole is to let air flow in so that it carries threads away from there so they tend not to get wrapped up in the bearings. Clever. Sandblasting, look at that. A week's supply of main castings. The daily production was 1,500 cleaners a day. Look at that. Where are all those vacuums today? Satin finish produced by a high-speed wire brush, preserved by covering it with lacquer applied by an air spray. Making brush rolls. Polishing parts. Big gang of buffing wheels with a dust collection system to carry away the debris. All parts not made of aluminum are nickel plated. Inspecting the brush rolls. So at this point, the handles on Hoovers were just wooden, basically broomsticks. Handles are inspected for straightness, soundness, and finished. It is not unusual for 50% or more of a shipment to be rejected. They're balancing the fan again. Checking parts and bar stock for shafts and bushings, wire stock for armatures, field coils, and cord. Motor bases, 1 day's supply for each workman carried on each platform. So at the end of the day, you would take all these and make Hoovers out of them during your part of the assembly line. If you were the one putting the motors together. Armatures. Interesting little notes about their refinement of the production process. By changing from vertical frames to horizontal frames, the capacity of the storage space was increased 50%. In the Hoover story, The Fabulous Dustpan, they also touch on this a little bit, where the gentleman Hoover had recruited from the steel mill came and said, Boss Hoover, I need a $100,000 conveyor system all throughout the plant. And Boss Hoover said, or what? He said, well, we need the plant to be twice as big because we're running out of room. So that was when they put the conveyors in. Punch press. Winding motors. Field coils. Ooh, this center page is off its staples. All women winding the Hoover motors. Smaller, nimble fingers more suited to the delicate nature of that kind of work. They look happy. You smile for this picture, you hear? Ovens to bake the finished armatures and field coils. Balancing. Grinding the bearings and shafts. Every single process was done in-house. Including making the bags. Look at these big shears they used to cut through 150 thicknesses at once. And you can see the patterns drawn out for the bags. Cloth is examined on a transparent table. Any defects are discovered and cause the cloth to be discarded. The odd-shaped pieces that are left over in the cutting of the cloth are sewed into long strips and used for bag loops, so there is practically no waste. Assembling, making adjustments. Shows the cleaners traveling on the rolling platforms, the motors running in the meanwhile. Now this is really cool. So they had these little trolleys which carried 2 machines each, it appears, and they were electrified. So both these rails would carry current. So the vacuums were running while they were rolling through the factory to the final assembly and boxing area. And if there was a reject, then the machine would be put back on the conveyor and taken up to the adjuster, and if the machine was good to go, then it would be carried over to the packing department. Look at those Hoover boxes with the big staplers. Tool department, they made their own tooling for stuff. Engineering department, that guy with a Hoover propped on its side. That would be model 105, I guess, at this point. The engineering department. The air laboratory provides equipment for the study of any possible air cleaning process. And look at these competing machines. Can't even recognize this. This one and that one appear to be early central vac systems. This looks like the Lux Model 1, but I think there was another machine that kind of looked like that. Chemical analysis. It's amazing in the 20s what they were doing. More competitor machines. Imagine all those brand new just being tested out to make sure that Nobody had the edge on a Hoover. Automatic mechanism which moved the cleaner back and forth over the carpet. You've probably seen clips of that in modern testing facilities. I remember a clip of Kirby's all in a row being tested that way. Experimental models being built. Cost-keeping department with automatic tabulating and calculating machines of various kinds. That's what these things are. Look at that. Auditorium of the Sales School, where resale men and dealer salesmen receive training in tested and successful ways of getting leads, demonstrating in the store or in the home, mechanical features, etc. In addition, a complete training is given in sales psychology, in carpets and their care, in the drudgery and labor of housework, and in the advantages of owning and using a Hoover. Laboratory at the Sales School, where the assembling and repairing of Hoovers is taught. So as part of the sales school, you also learn how to fix the product you were selling. Wow. Print shop. Filing cabinets, demonstration tables, mirror display boxes, and much of the office furniture in the plant and in the district offices are made in this cabinet shop. The mind boggles at the stuff that they made everything they could in-house. Cafeteria. Once a week, the Hoover Band gives a concert during the noon hour. The Hoover Coal Mine. The Hoover Company owns its own coal mine and breaker, which is located only a short distance from the plant. Mine supplies all the coal required in the manufacturing plant, as well as a good deal to people living in North Canton. Wow. After the coal has been dumped into the receiving hopper, the truck receives a load of ashes from the chute shown in the background. Look at that. The size of that thing. It's probably one place that did not use a Spencer turbine to keep their boiler tubes clean. Maybe. Coal and ash handling equipment, conveyors, and ash hopper. This is all boiler control gear. Engine and generator which produce part of the electricity used in the plant. Look at that switchboard. Look at that. Would that be marble? Yes, that would be marble. Facing on the switchboard there. Look at that. Can you imagine how beautiful that would be? And this is behind that. Look at the size of those conductors. The energy is reduced from 133,000 to 2,200 volts outside the plant, and reduced from 2,200 to working voltage behind the board. Not so many pictures of the Hamilton plant. Airplane view of plant at North Canton, Ohio. All the offices. Well, there you have it. A trip through the Hoover factories. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and as always, happy vacuuming.